Hey guys, in today's video, let's create a fun, cute little toy-like tank. So maybe this could be a game model of some sort. Alright, so to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my viewport and let's just start creating the tracks for the tank. So there are probably infinite amount of ways we can do it. We can grab a cylinder. So let's go with the box. Let's just do something like hardcore box modeling 101, right? So let's just do the old school box modeling. So I'm going to grab this box, and to create the track for the tank, it's going to be super simple, kind of simplified tank game model, right? What I would like to do is let's maybe first decide on the shape and the thickness of the track. So something along these lines, and I am envisioning this track to be kind of a double track on both sides. I think that would be nice to add a little illusion of complexity, right? So I'm gonna let's do something like this, and next let's do this. Let's select both of these here, and let's just press the delete key. So then we're just left with something along these lines. All right. And the next thing I would like to do is let's grab these points here, press R on the keyboard, and let's just move these in. So then the track is going to be kind of longer on top and a little bit shorter on the bottom, right? So something like this. Very cool. Next, to create kind of the texture for the track, we need to make sure that we have obviously enough resolution. So right now, this is definitely not enough, right? We only have essentially just 4 faces. So how do we add more faces? But the trick here is to kind of maintain the same or similar spacing, right? To create the track detail. So maybe let's do this. Let's select the entire thing and let's just bevel it. So I'm going to add bevel, and then I'm kind of almost liking the spacing right here. By default it's set to 0.5. I think I'm gonna go with this. I think I like this, so I'm gonna actually just agree. And now what I need to do is, if I'm looking at the spacing of this polygon here, I just need to make sure that I have the same kind of going on the top one and these 2 side ones and the bottom one. So let's just to achieve this same kind of a width or depth spacing, let's just insert I'm going to go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop, and let's click on Options. Alright, and let me just reset my tool. So by default, this is what you should see. I'm going to go to Multi-Edge Loops, and I am going to set this to, let's try 3 on the bottom here and just do that. That's definitely too short, so I'm going to switch it to 2. And if you look at the spacing here, it kind of works. I think that is great. Let's do the same thing here as well. So I'm going to add some edge loops here and here. And now you can see that it all looks like it's about the same size, right? And let's go ahead and do the one on top. So on the top one, probably need a lot more. How about we'll do 6? And honestly, I think 6 is perfect. All right, very cool. So there you go. So there's our track, all right, for our tank. Now, the next thing we should do is probably, let's add some thickness to this. So I'm going to select the entire thing and press Extrude. And using the blue arrow here, I'm just going to, now if I start pulling this out, you could see that it's kind of doing it a little bit uneven. So to fix this, let's press Control Z to undo, and let's click on this little blue icon here. So once I do, you can see the gizmo is being placed in the center. Now if I click on the outside box on any one of these, a little blue one appears in the middle. And now if I scale this, I get something like that, which is still not perfect, but you can see all the lines are even, and that is what I'm looking for. So I'm okay with this. I'm gonna select that and go to object mode. Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and press spacebar and jump into our side view. Let's just make sure that the thickness of these lines is about the same. So very quickly, I'm just going to grab maybe all of these points here, press W, and just simply move them down to kind of maintain the same thickness as this here. And let's go ahead and select, holding on the Shift key, we can select all of these points. We can also turn on our object, let's see, X, right, symmetry. And let's just move these in, something along these lines. And next I'm just gonna grab all of these points and move them up as well. So now you can see how I have about the same thickness going all the way around this track. And if we wanted to, we can adjust it manually just a little more, right? All right, very cool. Let's go into object mode. Let's go into our perspective view and take a look. So now I have something like this. All right, very nice. So next, let's go ahead and select, let's go into our face mode and let's just, let's see, I'm gonna turn off my symmetry for a minute. If you just click on the first face, hold on the Shift key and double click, that will select the entire loop. And that's what we want. And now let's just start creating maybe a little detail on top of this track, right? So I'm gonna do, let's do extrude, let's keep faces together. Let's click on off. And then I'm gonna click on this box outside and then just gonna do something like this. And next, let's go ahead and do another extrude and maybe let's pull this up. So now we have something along these lines. Very nice. Now, at this point, there's many different things we can do to add different effects to this. One thing that I think would be really cool is, how about we let's see, how about we select all of these front faces going all the way around. So just very quickly, I'm going to go around and select all of these. All right, and let's do this. Let's do another extrude and click on this box here. Let's pull this in. Next, let's just grab this this and just pull it out. So something like that. Cool. All right. Once we've done that, next let's do this. Let's go into vertex mode, and I'm gonna grab this tool here, and that is called Target Well tool. And very quickly, I'm just gonna go around, and I'm going to snap the backs of all the tracks to the base, just like this. And that will give us a really interesting, kind of a cool looking shape on top of our track. So let's very quickly, let's go around and snap all of the backs. All right, so let's take a look. So we have something like this. I think that's pretty cool. Another thing we could do if we wanted to, we could grab maybe these points here, and let's see if we can weld them together and see what that looks like. Press G to repeat the command. And if you wanted to make the front of these, you know, kind of super sharp, again, just select both points and click on the merge to center, or press G to repeat the command. And let's, I'm kind of liking this look, so I'm gonna go very quickly around my mesh one more time and just kind of merge all these together. All right, that was fun. So now I'm left with something along these lines. If you start seeing strange normals, like for example, some of these maybe have different shading that is not maybe preferable, just select your mesh when you're done. Go to Mesh Display, and you can do a couple things. You can do unlock normals, or you can say hard edges, and that should kind of make your mesh nice and free of any normals issues, right? Any angles. All right, so now we have something like this. Next, let's go ahead and duplicate our tread. So I'm going to select this, or our track, and I'm going to press Ctrl D, and just make another one right next to it. All right, so then I have something that looks like this. Very nice. I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to combine them into one, and then I'm going to clear my history. Another thing we can do is we can center our pivot. Make sure it's in the center. If you press spacebar and go into your side view, you can also make sure, if you hold down the X key and move your arrow, you can make sure that it does snap perfectly in the center. And we can also position our track maybe on the ground, right? So it looks like it's centered and it's on the ground. All right, very cool. So now we have two of these. The next thing we could do is maybe let's create the wheels that go inside of these tracks, right? So to do this, I'm just going to simply grab a cylinder, drag a cylinder out, and let's just hold down the J key and just snap this, let's say 90 degrees this way. Okay. And by default, this is set to subdivision 20. So you could adjust this if you wanted to, right? That's up to you if you're creating like a super low poly one, or if you don't mind having a little bit of a resolution. So I'm just going to leave it at something like 24, I think is fine. All right. And now let's go ahead and just simply position it into place. So to do this, I'm going to jump into my top view, hold down the X key, and I'm going to snap it right in the center of my grid. I'm also going to grab this track here, hold down the X key, and snap it in the center as well. So now I know that everything is centered. And let's just go ahead and move it into position, go into our side view, and let's figure out how many wheels do we want. So maybe we can have a couple big ones, maybe one here. And if you press Ctrl D, you can place one here, right? We can also have a couple smaller ones maybe up here. But before we do that, before we start cloning these, why don't we just make a little more adjustment to this, right? So I'm going to turn on my wireframe, and I'm going to go to, let's go to our perspective view, and let's maybe adjust this to make this a little more interesting. So we can always adjust the thickness if you want to make it a little thicker. Another thing we can do at this point is let's just select maybe this entire edge here, and I'm going to select all of these. So both the external and the internal edges, I'm going to select them, and I'm going to do a bevel. Let's do a bevel, and let's change our fraction to be maybe something like 0.3, I think is nice. I think that looks really cool. All right, now let's go to object mode. Let's select our wheel, and let's do some work on this wheel. So to do this, I'm gonna go to my attribute editor, go to my poly cylinder. I'm gonna turn my caps off. All right, and let's go ahead and select both of these sides. Let's do extrude. Let's click on the scale and kind of scale this in. So we can just figure out what kind of wheel do we want, but maybe something along these lines. Let's do another extrude, and let's just kind of pull this in. And I'm doing it on both sides, obviously, right? Very nice. Let's go ahead and do another extrude and scale maybe this one in. Press extrude once again, and let's go ahead and pull this out and maybe scale this in. So I'm just adding some interesting detail, right? Very cool. Let's go ahead and select maybe this edge and this edge, and let's go ahead and do the same thing with the inner edge as well, and let's do a bevel. And again, I'm fine with 0.5. I think that looks pretty cool. You can adjust it on your end if you wish. So now we have something like this. So we have this cool looking track, and we have this pretty sweet looking wheel, right? And if we wanted to, maybe not on the inside, but on the outside, let's just add a little more detail so we know this is kind of the outside side wheel, right? So let's just do a little more. We'll do something like this. I'm gonna push this in and I'm gonna scale this in. All right, very cool. So I have something like that. And if we wanted to, we could go to edit mesh and do a poke if we wanted to kind of make sure that we don't have a polygon with a lot of sides, right? All right, so now we have something that looks like this. I think that's cool. Let's go back into our side view. Let's select this guy, grab our move tool, press Ctrl D and duplicate it. So now I have two of them. And if you wanted to, you can select both of them and kind of position them maybe a little bit better. Maybe make sure they are centered, right? Very nice. I'm gonna select this one here, press Ctrl D and move it up higher. Grab my scale tool. Now when you're scaling it, don't grab the blue box, grab this green one, because then it's gonna do up and down, but it's not gonna do the depth, because you don't want the depth of the wheel to change. So scale this only. All right, press W to move it around. Very nice. Once you're happy with it, you can do Control D and just move it maybe to this side. Very cool. Very nice. So I think for the sake of simplicity, I think this works. If you wanted to, you could do Control D. You could put one, press R, and you could make like a smaller one here. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but maybe let's do a smaller one as well. All right, very cool. Press spacebar, let's take a look. All right, so now we have something like this. This is interesting because we scaled it, but we kept the same depth. You can see what it was doing. It was kind of changed the shape of it. And sometimes, you know, when you're doing 3D, you are gonna have kind of a funky looking accidents that totally work. Like I'm looking at this, yeah, I could very easily adjust this, but in some strange way, I think it's cool. I think I like it. But if you did want to adjust it, it's very easy to do. You could, for example, select this edge here, hold on the Shift key, and then click period to grow your selection, and then grab your move tool and just move this up, right? You could do that. You can even grab the scale tool and scale this in if that's better, right? Now I do want to show you one other trick, really cool trick. So check this out. If you wanted to do, let's say I want to do this wheel and this wheel at the same time, right? Yeah, of course I can delete one and just copy it over, but is there a way in Maya where you can adjust two shapes even though they're not merged or combined? Can you adjust two shapes at the same time? And you can. What you can do is you can select one, hold on the Shift key, select the other one, and then in here there's a little button called Select by Component Type. If you click on that, that will allow you to edit both shapes at the same time. So now check this out. If I come in here, if I click on one edge and then double click, I could do the same thing here. Click and double click, and now if I hold down the Shift key and click on my period, it's going to grow selection on both of them, and you can see how they're both being affected even though they're completely separate. So a really cool trick. And then just let's move this up. All right, and then we can grab our scale tool and scale this in, press W, move them around. So I think maybe that's a little better. All right, cool. So now we have something like this. Very nice. Now, for the sake of simplicity and the sake of copying this over, we could combine this. And later, if you're doing textures or you want to rig this, you know, you can of course separate all the pieces. But for the sake of simplicity, let's combine this into one. And let's clear our history. Now we're just left with one mesh that looks something along these lines. And then also, of course, do Control S to save your work. All right, let's see. So let's go ahead and copy this over to the other side, right? Because we're going to need two of them. So to do this, let's figure out the thickness that we want our tank to be. So maybe I need to make sure that I move it in the right direction, but let's move it this way. And now if I go to my top view, I can hold on the X key and I can snap it to maybe this grid line here. And now let's just clone this, right? So I'm going to go back to my perspective view, select this piece here, and let's click on this little button right here, mirror geometry across the axes. And you should see a direct mirror. And of course you can control the axes here if that's not what happened on your end, but make sure it's copied on Z. And everything else should be fine, right? All right, so now I have two of them. Very nice. Next, let's go ahead and create maybe the centerpiece for our tank. So to do that, I'm just going to grab a box and let's just drag a box out, something like this, and maybe do something along these lines. So this will be essentially the base of the tank, right? So you have something like this. Maybe it can go just a little bit above. All right, so we'll do something like that, and let's figure out what the thickness of this should be. So the best way to do that is definitely going to the top view, hold down the X key, make sure you are centered, then press R, and let's just scale this out so there's just a little bit of space on the side here, right? We can also grab these points here, press W, and maybe move them to the back. So maybe this will be the back of the tank. Let's grab the front ones and move these forward as well. And let's figure out how we want this to look. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this top edge, right? And this is going to be the front of the tank. And I'm just realizing also I'm not paying any attention to the X, Y, and Z, which is not good. So I'm going to rotate all of this in 1 second. But in the meantime, find the front of your tank. And the front of my tank is definitely going to be based on these tracks. So you can see how the tracks are kind of, if they're moving this way, right? The tracks are going to be, you know, almost like claws, right? Going into the ground. So keep that in mind, right? So that's going to be my front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this back, something along these lines. And that's going to be the front of my tank. And if I wanted to, I can maybe even move this up a little bit. And also the back, maybe I don't want the back to be perfectly straight like that, so I can just angle this a little bit as well. Right, it's just a matter of preference. And another thing we can do is definitely maybe select all of these edges here, and let's do a bevel. Something like that, I think is fine. You can adjust the fraction, maybe 0.7 is even better actually. So I'm going to go with 0.7. I don't want any of these edges to be smooth at this point in time while I'm modeling, so I'm going to go to my mesh display and definitely do hard edges, because I like to see hard edges when I'm modeling. That is going to help me kind of figure out the shape of this, right? And again, this is going to be a toy, so we do kind of want it to be kind of not chubby, I don't know what the word is, but kind of miniature, right? So I think this feels pretty good. We can figure out maybe the bottom of the tank. Maybe this is a little bit too low. Let's press W and adjust kind of the bottom as you wish. Press R if you want to maybe scale this in. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's just going to go a little bit below the middle of the wheel as far as the depth goes, but again, it's just a preference. All right, very nice. So this is going to be our sort of our base, right? So next, let's continue creating the rest of this, and maybe let's see. Let's put something that will look like it's pivoting, right? So we want to make sure that the barrel of the tank, you know, kind of spins around, and there's a few different ways we can do it. Maybe one of the things we can do is, let's select this this face here and do an extrude. And let's just maybe extrude this in and maybe pull this up and do something like that. All right, so it's kind of creating an interesting space. And then here, let's just plop down a cylinder. I'm just gonna grab a cylinder. Something like that is fine. I'm going to turn off my caps just so I can do more stuff on top. And we can figure out if 20 is too much or enough. I'm gonna go with 20, that's fine. Let's maybe scale it to something like this. And I definitely don't need the bottom face. This face will not be seen at any moment. All right, very nice. So next, let's just position this into place. So I'm going to, let's go into our side view and kind of position into place. Of course, we can adjust the scale of this. And it does feel a little bit like it's a little bit too forward. So I am gonna move this back a little bit, right? So let's go to the top view first. I'm gonna turn on my wireframe so I can see better. And holding down the X key, let's just snap this to the center, and moving it up and down, you can make sure that it's, you know, somewhat centered in this square here. All right. Next, I definitely want to push all of this. It kind of doesn't feel right to me. So let's grab, let's see. Let's pull this down so it kind of goes into the tank, right? And let's just maybe select both of these shapes here, and let's go ahead and merge them together for now. So I'm going to merge it, clear my history, go to my vertex mode, and let's just select all of these points right here, right? So if I go into my perspective view, I can see which points they are, but essentially just the top of this is what I'm looking for. And right now it feels like it's a little bit too to the left, or a little bit too much back. So I'm gonna move this forward a little bit, so it's a little more centered. Essentially, it would be probably better if the center of the tank was between these two wheels, right? So we can decide if that's something we want, or if we wanted to, we can also grab all of these faces, just move them forward and kind of do something like that. All right, so you decide what do you think looks best. So I'm happy with this, right? So next, let's go ahead and start kind of building this into something a lot more interesting. So one of the things we can do is, let's go ahead and select this, and let's do a extrude. Maybe extrude this in, and let's do another extrude and maybe pull this up, and then scale this in maybe a little bit. All right, I'm gonna grab maybe this edge here and do a bevel. Very nice. Let's add kind of a better connection here, because right now it's kind of just, the cylinder is just going straight into this box and it's not very interesting. So I'm going to go into the side view, and I'm going to grab my knife tool, hold down the shift key, and just make a line and make a cut. Next, I'm going to go back into my perspective view, and let's just go into our face mode, select all of these faces here. Let's do an extrude and just pull them out. And you can see very quickly we can add fun detail that looks like it's connected a little bit better, right? Very cool. Let's see, what else can we do? If you wanted to, you could select this edge here, press R, and maybe scale it in a little, so it's a little bit angled. Very cool. Next, I'm gonna grab, let's select this shape here, and let's do an isolate, and let's maybe select this piece, and let's do an extrude. And we'll do something like that. Maybe we'll extrude this in, just adding a little more detail. All right, very cool. Next, let's just cut this big piece. So I'm gonna select this face here. I'm gonna turn my symmetry on, and I'm gonna set it to Z. And the reason I have to set it to Z is because I haven't yet rotated my tank. So my tank is not facing the proper direction. Let me fix that real quick. Let's jump out of isolate. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select both of these meshes here. I'm gonna press Control G to group them. I'm gonna grab my rotation tool, and I need to make sure that the tank is facing Z, and I apologize for not paying attention. So I'm gonna hold on the J key and just snap this facing forward, which is much better. So now I know that's the front of my tank, and this is gonna be the back, right? Very cool. All right, that's better. So I'm fine with leaving it in the group for now. We'll clean this up in a minute, but I am gonna save my work. I'm gonna select this mesh once again. I'm gonna go back into isolation mode. And what I need to do now is I'm gonna select this face here. And what I need to do is I'm gonna grab my cut tool, and I'm gonna make a cut from here to down here. Press enter. I'm gonna do undo, and I don't want the edge flow to be on. So I'm just gonna make a cut from here to here without the edge flow, and just press enter. And now you can see that this turns into a quad, right? That is good. I'm gonna grab a point here, and press enter. And now this is gonna be a quad as well. Very nice. All right, so this is looking good. It's nice and clean. We can always add a little more detail. So maybe let's just select this outer edge, and let's do a quick little bevel. Maybe we'll go to like 0.3. I think that's nice. All right. Let's go ahead and jump out of the isolate and take a look. So you can see the tank is becoming a little more and more sophisticated, right? A little more interesting. All right, cool. So one of the things that I personally are not happy with this design is it feels like this piece here, the round piece that's rotating, feels a little weak to me. So I think I'm gonna make some adjustments. I'm gonna select this part here and just press delete. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to select this edge and do a extrude and just pull this in. All right. I'm going to jump out of the symmetry, and I'm just going to scale this in just a little bit. I'm going to go to mesh and do a fill hole. So that kind of closes up that whole section. And now what I can do is if I select, if I double click on this round shape, I can put it back into position and maybe make it just a little bit stronger. And this is going to be the part that, you know, swivels and rotates with the barrel. So I feel like it makes more sense if this was a little bit kind of a stronger shape. All right, next let's build the barrel. So I'm just gonna drag a cylinder, and holding down the J key, I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees. Holding down the X key, we can make sure that it's centered, right? And we can also kind of put it in position. And now this is the part, I think, where I'm gonna be readjusting the base even more. So I think the biggest parts of this tank is definitely going to be the barrel. That's going to be the most sort of intimidating piece, right? The main weapon. So I feel like if you think of this almost like a character, you know, the tracks are fun and spiky, sort of aggressive, almost like the metal slug kind of thing. And then the barrel is going to be another one. And then based on the size of the barrel, I feel like the base needs to be adjusted based on that. So I'm kind of going backwards a little bit, but I really feel like this piece here is going to be super important, right? So let's not even worry about how this connects to maybe your mesh on your end, but let's first kind of figure out the shape and the size of this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my caps off, and one of the things I know for sure is that I don't want the back, that piece there. And let's see, so let's maybe extrude this out and maybe forward. We can do, we can press R to scale this maybe like this. And then we can do Control E to extrude this maybe something like that, right? And now let's do kind of the middle barrel part. So I'm going to extrude this in, and I think it'd be really cool if this was super thick. I think it adds kind of a cartoony, strong feel, right? So I'm going to make sure that this barrel part is very thick. I'm going to press Control E and just pull this all the way in. I think that's really cool. Now we can maybe add some details. Maybe we can grab this here and let's do a little bevel. And let's do the same thing here as well. Press G to repeat the command and maybe do something along these lines. And you can see how the barrel is a big part of kind of the whole feel of the tank, right? Let's see, what else can we do? So maybe let's add some interesting maybe detail back here as well. So one thing we could do is just insert, let's do insert edge. Let's do multiple, maybe I'm gonna set it to something like 4. And maybe let's grab, you know, these faces here. Let's just add some detail. So I'm just gonna do an extrude and maybe pull them in. All right, so that's just a personal preference. I think that's cool. If we wanted to, we could grab these, hold on the Shift key, period, grow our selection. Let's grab our scale tool and maybe change the size of this. Press W, you can move this around. So I'm gonna do something like that. All right, very cool. To add maybe even more detail, maybe let's go back into insert edge loops. Let's maybe just do, let's just do one and put like an edge loop maybe towards the front, somewhere around here. And another one right by it. And let's just grab these faces here and do an extrude. And maybe let's pull this in just a little bit. And that could be kind of the front of the barrel, right? All right, so I'm really happy with the thickness and the feel of it. So now obviously I have to adjust my base once again. So to do this, I'm gonna definitely move the whole thing up. All right, so it's a little stronger and it makes sense as far as the holding the front part, right? Cool. Now the other thing that I really want is I would like to make this front piece to make it feel like it can go up and down. So how do we do this? So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these faces here. I'm going to grab my scale tool and just kind of widen them up a little bit. And let's do an extrude and pull them in. And do something like that. All right, so now I have something along these lines. So now if I grab my move tool, hold down the D key, I can change the pivot of this barrel. And now if you press E to rotate, you can see that maybe it would make more sense if you are rotating this for, you know, for a specific shot, right? So the only thing that we would have to do is obviously make this edge a little bit longer. So maybe let's make sure we extend this out for later for rigging. For now, I'm gonna angle it up a little bit so it's a little more interesting. And let's just keep adding more and more detail, right? So the next thing we could do is maybe let's add something to the top of the tank. Maybe this is where the character gets in. So we can do something like that. Maybe press this down. Very cool. So another thing we can do is maybe let's add something to the front. Definitely it feels like the front of the tank needs some kind of a panel here or some more detail. So when I select the shape, you can see in my channel box I have all of this history, so I'm going to clear my history. And maybe it's actually a good idea to select the entire tank and clear history on all of it. Clearing history is important because that will make sure that your Maya is running smooth and error free. So it's going to actually get a lot faster if you continuously clear your history, right? So make sure you save your work as well. And let's add like a front panel to here. So to do that, we can of course extract something from here, and maybe we should. So it feels like it kind of matches. So I'm going to grab this piece here. Let's do an extrude, and let's just pull this in. And maybe this could be kind of the front panel of the tank. And now if I do another extrude, I can pull this out. And I have something like that. Maybe on the bottom part, we can do yet another extrude, and maybe have one piece that is going kind of in. All right, we can figure out if we want to add something maybe on the side here. This right here feels a little empty, right? So maybe we can add some detail there as well. Let's grab a box, and let's just maybe make our box to be almost like some kind of a cover or a connector, right? So to do this, what I'm gonna do is just simply put it into place, and let's do something. Let's just make sure that it kind of touches it, but it doesn't go through. So maybe something along these lines. And now we can start shaping this up. So I'm going to grab this bottom piece and just make sure that it just goes over the tracks there, right? And maybe something like that. And this could be kind of the top part. So I'm going to, again, make sure that it goes a little bit over. And now what I would like to do is I'm going to punch a hole here and here. So I'm going to grab both of these faces, and let's do another extrude and just kind of do something like this. Just make sure that it's over the track, press delete key. Then I'm gonna select this edge here, hold on the shift key, select this edge and do a bridge. And you can see what that did. It kind of connected both of those pieces together, right? Now what we could do is we can select maybe this whole section, press W and just pull this in. So it's almost like a cover that is that I think works really well. We can maybe move this down. Let's do another extrude, and let's do something like this. Press W and just move this down. All right, very cool. We can even make it a little bit lower. So maybe there's like a little compartment that's holding something. So we can maybe, let's grab this face here and just keep adding more and more detail. Do another extrude, pull this out, maybe pull this down. We can select the entire shape and just do a bevel. I'm going to do 0.7. Let's add something here as well. If we wanted to make it a little more interesting, we can even maybe move it in a little bit. You can see how quickly it just creates kind of a custom, interesting feel to the tank, right? Very cool. So it's up to you. Another thing you could do is, again, to create kind of an illusion of detail, you could always make something thinner, then move it aside, and then press Ctrl D and make two of them. And sometimes that very quickly adds extra detail that seems very, very interesting, right? So if you want to make sure that it's centered, we can always do that by combining it together, then centering the pivot, and then holding down the X key, we can just move it left and right to make sure that it snaps in the center, right? Another thing we can do is select the entire mesh and click on mirror and put it on the other side on, in this case, an X, right? All right, very cool. So now it's on both sides. I would like to make this a little more aerodynamic, so I'm going to grab this front edge and maybe move it down. And I'm going to grab this bottom edge and just move it down as well, so it's a little more... So it's a little less maybe square is what the word I'm looking for. Okay. Another thing we can do is maybe we can grab both of these edges here. All right, and then I can press R and maybe move these in. You can see right away, again, it makes it a lot more interesting than just perfectly square, right? And we'll do the same thing with these. Let's just grab these 2 points and maybe move them a little bit. And maybe we can take these 2 points and move them in. Press W, move them up. So just kind of mess up the perfection here, and do the same thing here. Press R, maybe do something like that. All right. So in my personal opinion, I think that looks a lot more interesting. All right. So let's make sure we save our work. All right, let's keep adding more detail. So the other thing, let's add maybe something maybe in here that allows someone to get up. So maybe let's add a couple, like handles or something, right? So I'm gonna grab a box. So let's just make a quick handle. To do that, I'm going to simply do something like this. And essentially all I need for a handle is just these pieces here, right? That's all I need. So let's do a select inverse, and let's press delete on everything else. And now if I go into object mode and grab all of these, the entire mesh, and just do an extrude, I can just simply add thickness to it and and you can see it's kind of extruding it not perfectly, right? And I'm kind of liking that. It's doing like this interesting angle, so I'm gonna actually leave that and use it to my benefit. So I'm gonna press R and just maybe emphasize this even more, and just do like almost like a handle, right? So another thing we can do is maybe grab these two edges, and if we feel like it's a little bit too sharp, of course we can bevel them and just do something more like this. Okay, I think that's great. Let's go ahead and maybe decide on the thickness of this and the scale, And let's just simply put it in position. So I'm just going to kind of angle them right here, and I'm intending to put them right in here. So to do this, I guess the best way is let's go into maybe this view, the side view, and let's turn on our X-ray and see if that helps us. Maybe press R and we can maybe scale this in a little bit. Press W and just maybe match kind of the angle of the tank. So I can't really see it well from here, so I'm going to go back into my perspective view. And let's just put them in position. Maybe there's one on this side. Oh, well, all right. And pressing E, I can change the, obviously the rotation. I can press W to move it up and down, make sure it's all the way in, right? So you have something like that. And then of course, if we wanted to, we can also mirror it to the other side. And I need to switch this to X, right? So it's on both sides now. All right, I think that looks pretty cool. Another thing we can do is, if you take a look at your outliner, you should see quite a mess, right? So I have a mess there. So if you wanted to, we could select everything, and we can always merge them into one shape and clear our history, just so we just have one to deal with. And then at any point, if you ever want to disconnect anything, it's very easy. You just select the shape that you want to disconnect. Just go to Mesh and do a separate, and you can see now they are separate meshes, right? So we have full control. So I'm going to undo and just keep them sort of together to continue keeping it nice and clean, right? All right, really cool. So let's see, what kind of other detail can we add? To the bottom of the tank, I definitely feel like there should be something here. So let's just maybe extrude this like that, and maybe we'll pull this in. That could be kind of like the floor, right? Very nice. Another thing we can do is, if we wanted to add any kind of round bolts or spheres, we can always grab a box, drag a box out, and then do like a mesh smooth. Something like that. We can then select maybe this entire row, press delete, double click on this, press delete. And now if we scale this down, we have something along these lines that we can use to put on our tank, right? So maybe even, let's grab this and scale this in so it's nice and straight. Press W, move it down, press R to scale this out. And let's add this, the bottom loop here should have a little thickness. So maybe let's add a little thickness. All right, very nice. And let's just position it right onto the tank. So I'm gonna rotate it and move it into position. Maybe I'll add one here. You can press F if you want it to frame in, and then using the move tool, you should be able to use the W to move it up and down, and then press E to rotate it to make sure it matches kind of the same surface as the front of the tank, right? All right, very cool. So now we have something along these lines. Let's go ahead and mirror this as well. Very cool. All right, so maybe, how about just one more piece in front. Let's do something like, I'm feeling like it would be cool if this had some kind of lines, right? So let's just grab a box and let's just make it just a little bit longer. So something like that. And then on our box, if we wanted to, we can just get rid of this interface. And let's take this box and maybe rotate it something like that, and move it into position. Again, press F. You can press R to scale and just kind of scale it in. And I'm just looking to add kind of a more detail down here to the bottom of the tank, the front bottom, right? So we can just pull this in. And if we wanted to, we could even angle it to make it a little more interesting, like where the bottom is almost, you can see that it's out a little more than the top, right? So you have something like that. Again, just an artistic preference. I'm just kind of toying around, concepting as I go, right? So maybe add this a little thickness. We can grab this edge here and maybe move it down. Maybe grab this edge and move it out. So you have something like that. Let's select it and let's put it closer to the edge. Press Ctrl D, and let's make a couple of these. So maybe do, how about I'll do 3 on each side. I think that's interesting. Let's go ahead and combine them together, and let's do a mirror on X. All right. All right, really cool. Let's see, what else can we do? Well, let's think about this. So let's say there's a guy who gets in there. One of the things that's probably going to happen is he's going to open the hatch, get in there, and one of the things he's going to need is probably he needs to see out, right? So let's give him a window. Let's grab these faces here, and let's give our guy something to look out from. So I'm gonna do something like that. I'm gonna press R and scale this in. Press W to move this up. So now I'm gonna create like a little window for him. All right, so, and maybe pull this out. Let's do another extrude and pull this in. And then we'll do another extrude and pull this all the way in. So that's going to be kind of like the window part, right? All right, really cool. I think that works. Well, we did a lot of work on the front of the tank. Maybe let's add something to the back of the tank as well. So one of the things that we could add is maybe there's a couple containers back here. Maybe he's carrying, you know, fuel or something like that. So this could be as easy as going to the attribute editor, and let's turn round cap on, and let's add a few subdivisions and maybe change this to something like 15. All right, and then if we wanted to shape them up, maybe we could do something like this, and then let's grab our verts and press W and do something like this. All right, so now we have kind of a very specific pill shape looking thing. I'm gonna press E, and then holding down the J key, I can rotate this 90 degrees, and let's put this into position so it's kind of like on the back of the tank, right? So definitely change, we can center our pivot and change the size of it. Of course, you can control the thickness of it, right? And let's just put this into place. Now, we could just plop it down where it just connects by just sitting on it. Or, I mean, if you wanted to get fancy, we could just create like a little holder. Let me turn off my symmetry. And how about we just select maybe this piece here. grab all of this. All right, if you press F, you can kind of frame this in. And now what we can do is let's turn this into like a holder. So I'm going to press extrude, and I'm just going to pull this out, right? Something like that. Let's do another extrude, and maybe pull this in, and do another extrude, and this time pull it out. All right, and then I'm going to pull it out just a little bit, and then press W, and move it down, all the way down. And in. All right, so you have kind of a interesting holder back there. And then definitely press delete key to get rid of all those faces inside the tank that are not going to be seen, right? We don't want those. So now we have something very cool back here. I think it's interesting. And we can put it into position, maybe something like that. We can also angle it if you needed to change the angle of it, right? Very cool. Let's go ahead and put it maybe to the somewhere around here of the tank. And now we just need two of them. So again, let's do a mirror on, in my case, it's going to be X. All right. And voila, so now I have two of these back here. All right, very nice. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's just keep adding more and more detail. So another thing we can do is let's select both of these faces here. Let's do an extrude. Let's keep faces together. We'll say off, and just do something like that. And maybe pull them in. All right. Right away, it's a little more fun. Let's see, what else can we do? So maybe this piece here could be like a hatch. So I'm gonna, or like a panel. So they're not exactly the same, right? So we'll do something like that. Very cool. If we wanted to incorporate some of these round elements, let's do Control D. And let's go ahead and move them to the back. And let's add them back here as well, right? So why not? Let's rotate them. Press R. And we can, of course, center our pivot as well. Maybe make them a little bit smaller. And let's put them somewhere around here. Press F. All right, really cool. Check it out. Now you can continue to add more and more detail. You can add maybe a couple antennas. That'll be super easy. Just grab a cylinder, make our cylinder kind of long, and let's just do something super simple for the antenna. Let's just do like a 5-point antenna. We'll get rid of our caps. And maybe for the bottom connector, we can extrude this out. We can grab all of these faces here, do an extrude, and maybe do something like this. Press W, move this down. All right, I'm gonna select this face here. Hold on the Shift key, press period to grow my selection, and press delete. All right, so that's gonna be kind of the bottom of my antenna. And this right here is going to be the top. So I'm going to select this and scale this in so I can make it a little more pointy, right? Then I can also scale this whole thing and maybe make it a little longer. And let's go ahead and put it in position. Press R. Alright, so there's going to be one antenna here, and let's do Control D. We'll make another one right next to it, and maybe this other one is going to be a smaller one. Put it back into place. So now we have something like that. I'm going to select everything and again combine and clear my history so I can clean this up. I can press F. Let's just for fun turn on our ambient occlusion so we can see. If you wanted to see this in different color, of course you can go to your material attribute and you can change the color of your tank. You can see what it looks like, darker or lighter. Alright. Now there's no textures yet, but we're just kind of playing around with modeling still, right? But a lot of times, as I do in ZBrush, it's a good idea to change colors to kind of see your work in with different lighting, different materials, different colors, because then your eye catches different things that maybe you want to clean up or edit or change. So it's a welcome practice, good practice. Well, I think I'm gonna end my tutorial here because honestly, you can add detail for the next hour and make it more and more interesting. But at this point, I think you get the idea, and hopefully you can customize this even more. And obviously, this was a game model. Things like this would not work, right? You don't want to have a face that is something like this. You want to make sure that you connect these edges and your topology is all pretty much quads, right? If you wanted to cheat, you could just do something like this and maybe just poke the face, but definitely don't leave it as one big polygon, right? All right, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I don't want this to be super long, but I kind of wanted to go through the basics of modeling this thing. Next, obviously, you should UV your tank and throw it into Substance Painter and create some awesome stylized textures. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.